All right, so you're probably wondering, why is Nocatee and Ponte Vedra so expensive? And is it worth the price? Well, today, let's uncover why Nocatee stands out in Florida and whether the price tag makes sense. Let's get into it now. All right, so welcome to my computer. Before we can quite compare why Nocatee is so much more expensive, let's really look at how much more expensive it is. So right here in St. Johns County, I have just Nocatee selected in my MLS stats. And as you can see here, the most important numbers you want to recognize are the median sales price, which is 725,000. And as you can see here, it's gone down 10% in the last 13 months just here in Nocatee. You've got days on market at 61 days on market, which has gone up 22%. And then, of course, the other important number here is $297 a square foot, which has also gone down in the last year, 4.2%. Pendings are at 48. Inventory listings are down 12.6%, which is interesting. And then supply of inventory is 3.9 months, 4 months, which has also gone down here in Nocatee. So almost 4 months of inventory. All right. So now for the sake of this video, just to compare apples to apples, a lot of the buyers, the buyer profile that would be looking at a Nocatee are considering other areas are similar. So I'm not going to do all of St. Johns County. I'm going to do those communities that other people would be considering that are similar, because usually North St. Johns County is much different than Southern St. Johns County. And so the neighborhoods I'm going to put in here are going to include so I'm going to uncheck Nocatee. I'm not going to include Ponte Vedra Beach, which is by the beach. That is the most expensive real estate, even more expensive than Nocatee. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the Julington Creek area, the Rivertown area, the Shearwater area, the SilverLeaf area, the World Golf Village area. Let's go ahead and click on Palencia as well. And here we go. We've watched the median sales price drop from $700,000 plus in Nocatee to about $550,000 in these other communities in St. Johns County that I'm comparing. Even though the median sales price has gone up a little bit in these areas, about 2.5%. Days on market's 53 days. And price per square foot sold is $233 compared to $297. And then the inventory, months of supply of inventory, is also a little bit higher in the rest of St. Johns County, about 5.3 months of inventory. All right, so I put all that information in the AI and let's look at the comparisons side by side. All right, so here's the data. I basically took all the MLS data from MLS for the market snapshots of June 2025, comparing Nocatee to most of St. Johns County, mostly mid to northern St. Johns County. As I said earlier, that fits the same buyer profile. So we're talking about all the communities on the 210 corridor, as well as Palencia, World Golf Village, SilverLeaf, all those other communities. So here we go. The big numbers you really want to pay attention is Nocatee's median sales price is $725,000 compared to the rest of St. Johns County is about $550,000. So Nocatee is 32% more expensive. Okay. Closed sales, days on market. Again, these stats, closed sales is not really a good comparison because the rest of St. Johns County is much larger, but days on market in Nocatee is 61 days as opposed to the rest of St. Johns County is 53 days. So not a big difference there. And I'll tell you why this data might be flawed here in a moment. Home affordability index, that's pretty interesting. That's at a number 36 in Nocatee. And then in the rest of St. Johns County, it's 47. Still not a great affordability number, even in the rest of St. Johns County, but the rest of St. Johns County is 30% more affordable. And then the big numbers here is sold price per square foot. In Nocatee, you're looking at about $297 a square foot, and as opposed to the rest of St. Johns County, more at $233 a square foot. And that makes it Nocatee costing about 27% more per square foot. All right, as far as pendings and new listings, again, we're comparing one master plan community to a bunch of master plan communities, so those numbers are definitely going to be bigger. But months supply for Nocatee is about 3.9 months as of June 2025, as opposed to 5.3 months for the rest of St. Johns County, so we have more inventory. Okay, so Nocatee is a premium. They have higher prices, less inventory, more buyer competition. So here's where the data is flawed, and I'll tell you why. All right, so the data is flawed because I'm taking information out of the MLS, okay? And if you know St. Johns County very well, especially along the 210 corridor, there is a lot of new construction. That is why Ponte Vedra Beach is so expensive, because there is no new construction. It is established and been around a long time. It's close proximity to the beach. And of course, there's not a lot of supply. Supply and demand rules here. So less supply over there, no new construction, and therefore those are premium prices. Now, Nocatee is coming towards the end of development. They're probably about another year and a half of building, maybe two. And so their supply is going up, down, and the demand will get up. Now, they do have a lot of resales coming into play right now as we speak in this time of making the video here in July of 2025. So that helps us with having more inventory and more resales for new construction to compete with. But my point is that west of Nocatee, past Phillips Highway, you're getting towards the 210 corridor, where SilverLeaf is going to be building up to 16,000 plus homes. You've got Rivertown, which has got 5,000 homes. You've got Shearwater that's trying to finish off, again, another 3,000-4,000 homes. And then Pulte is building another massive community there, the Landings, with another 1,500-1,600. So we've got like 20,000-30,000 homes being built in the next 10 years west of Phillips Highway, west of Nocatee. So there is a massive supply, no shortage of homes in St. Johns County west of Nocatee. Now, the data I shared may not be 100% accurate, because there is so much new construction in the pipeline in St. Johns County. A lot of new construction isn't actually not listed in MLS. So if you build a home with a builder from scratch, most likely your home will never be recorded in MLS. It's called a pre-sale. And so the builder never lists the home on the MLS, and because they don't need to market it. You walked into their model, you ordered to build, you built the home, and then they sell it to you, and it never really goes on MLS. Now, if it's a quick move in and they want to market it, they'll put it on MLS, and those are the data stats that are included. So when it says it's easier to sell your home outside of Nocatee than it is in Nocatee, that's not 100% correct, because even though Nocatee still has some new construction, it doesn't have as much new construction as the rest of St. Johns County that I'm comparing to, especially when you have a SilverLeaf that has 14,000 or 13,000 homes more in the pipeline. So that's where the data is flawed. I always say to folks, hey, listen, you can get a home that's 30% cheaper out west in certain areas, such as a SilverLeaf or a Rivertown, but you're going to have a hard time in resales until those communities are done, because you'll always be competing against builders and their incentives. So you have to be very careful. So I said, hey, I'm not opposed to building in a Newbrook out in SilverLeaf or going out to a Rivertown, but don't call me to sell the home in the next couple of years, because we're going to be competing against new construction, newer homes. We're going to be competing against builder incentives. And so it's going to be very difficult. It's not easier to sell your home in those areas as opposed to a Nocatee, which is going to be done with development in the next year and a half or two. Eventually, there'll be no more new construction, and it'll be a lot easier to sell your home. It's supply and demand, less inventory. So right now we do have a lot of inventory. It's certainly, again, 4 months finally, and that's a good, healthy market. It's not an unbalanced market. It's now switching from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Okay, so let's talk about why would you pay 30% more to live in Nocatee? Well, I'll get into that right now. why do you pay 30% more to live in Nocatee? Okay, well, like I said earlier, development is coming towards the end. We only have about 2 more years of building, probably about another year of sales. And I think, especially in larger size homes, you are very limited in what you can build in Nocatee. So therefore, the demand is going to be higher when there's less supply, and therefore your homes will be able to maintain that price point that they're at. Kind of the same example of what happened in Ponte Vedra Beach. You really don't see a massive drop in prices, just a little bit, but it will return back to normal levels once interest rates come back to a normal level and we have a little bit more stability in the economy. But of course, the most basic information is location, location, location. And so Nocatee is one of the only master plan communities that has close proximity to the beach, right? So with the ever-growing development here in St. Johns County, traffic is getting definitely going through massive growing pains as we're expanding our roadways. We can't keep up with development. So Nocatee is a lot closer to the beach. Depending on where you are in Nocatee, it could be as short as a 10-minute drive to a 20-minute drive to the beach, as opposed to being further out west or in between Ponte Vedra and St. Augustine and Palencia. You're looking at more like a 30-minute drive to the beach, up to 45, 50 minutes if you're out west by the river in a Rivertown. So proximity to the beach. People want to be closer to the beach. Again, that's why Ponte Vedra Beach is more expensive in real estate as well. All right. Second reason is, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's absolutely 100% true, is that Nocatee is one of the very few master plan communities that not only has a very fantastic infrastructure for the golf cart road system, but it also includes commercial. It's one of the very few master plan communities where you can get in your golf cart, you can drop your kids off at any of the schools that are here. You can drive it through Starbucks. You can go through Dunkin' Donuts. You can go to the restaurants, bars, whatever you choose on the golf cart. And they have plenty of amenities that you have access to, and they're all interconnected to the 40, 50 plus neighborhoods in this master plan community. So although you can't drive your golf cart to the beach, you can pretty much drive it everywhere else, and people do love that, and they do utilize that. I always joke about that most of my buyers or people that build homes, the first thing they do before they even buy a dining room table is buy a golf cart, and it's fun. It's not totally normal to live in different parts of the country and be able to drive your kids to school in a golf cart. It takes us 4 minutes from our door to drop our kids off at the elementary, the K through 8 school that my daughters go to. So it's pretty cool. Again, we have some of the better schools in the area for sure. We have pretty good graded schools. I can't comment too much on it, but you can go to niche.com or greatschools.org and you can actually see the ratings. But most of the Nocatee schools are pretty good. The high schools are fantastic. Having conversation with people, my children are not in high school yet, but just listening to the folks talk about how competitive it is to get into universities out of these high schools, because the kids have such high GPAs. They're performing at high levels, not just academics, but athletics as well. And then, of course, the other big reason people want to move to Nocatee is because our water parks are certainly probably some of the nicest water parks in St. Johns County. For now, there's always you never know, maybe in Duval, the next park group development, the Cirque Park will be something even bigger than the Nocatee water parks. But a lot of the communities try to compare to the Nocatee water parks, but it's not comparable. And again, that might not matter to you. I would say kids that are 13 and older, they get bored of the water parks. Kind of sad because it makes us kind of spoiled, but that's the true reality of it. But it certainly is a main attraction. They design some really killer amenities. And then finally, the master plan community has more events than any other community as well. So proximity to the beach, not as much inventory anymore. Golf cart community, including commercial, top rated schools. Those are all the big reasons why people are paying more to live in Nocatee. And for that reason, you're once the supply goes down and there's no longer new construction here in the next year and a half, 2 years, you will maintain great value in your home, and it will increase as it has east of us near the beach in Ponte Vedra Beach. So that is why people pay to be here, and certainly with good reason. I remain personally bullish in this area because I think that when construction is over, we're already experiencing it where a home on a really good pie-shaped lot that's oversized, it has 4, 5, 6 bedrooms, they usually, if they're priced correctly, already sell very well. We just don't have a ton of that inventory. It's not cheap, but it is certainly in shortage already. Right now, new construction, we have a lot of 40-foot lots. So you're going to continue to see a lot of great opportunities for 40-foot lots. So we're looking at homes between 2,000 and 2,400 square feet. Great opportunities for Nocatee in those areas, more affordable. We have some villas that have some great opportunities. If you're looking at a townhome or villa right now, some of the best pricing I've seen. And certainly those will be really good rentals in a future date. You're not technically supposed to rent a home the first year you purchase it here in Nocatee, but those are going to be fantastic opportunities in the future as well. So a lot of great opportunities. I remain bullish in this area. Everybody that's complaining about their homes going down in value in 21-22 purchases, they will go back to that value for sure. No doubt when the supply has run out here in this area. So, okay, let's talk about the costs in, let's say you purchase a home, one of these 40-foot lots for $650,000. Let's break down the costs. All right, welcome to my computer. Let's keep it real. We're going to do an actual case here. So really quick, let's do the edit search. I'm doing listings that are up to $650,000 just in Nocatee, St. Johns County. Okay, so here we are. The ocean side here is Ponte Vedra Beach 32082. Nocatee is just west of the Intercoastal 32081 and east of Phillips Highway. And this is all of the rest of St. Johns County that I was comparing, okay, from World Golf Village all the way north up to Julington Creek, Rivertown, SilverLeaf. So this is the Nocatee area. It's 32081. I'm looking at 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2,200 square feet at least. This is pretty common. And of course, the $650,000 budget. And here we go. We've got about 16 results. Now, there's a lot more results than this because there is a lot of 40-foot lots that are available in Nocatee. So not all of them are coming up, but you can actually build one from scratch. But these are quick move-ins or resales. So here we go. We have one for $640,000, 23 square feet, 4.3, $275 a square foot. That looks like it's in the Seabrook Village area. Here we have one for $649,900, just under 2,400 square feet, a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath at $271 a square foot. This is a brand new home. It is a spec home. It has been built already. It's ready to go. So usually when homes are specs or built, if they're finished, you can negotiate with the builder. Here they have it staged. These are just a model they had that they're going ahead and showing pictures of what it looks like staged. So $650,000. These are on a 40-foot lot. Now, of course, this is probably a back-to-back lot. If it was on a preserve or water preserve, this house would be closer to like $699,000, $700,000. And then, of course, the other factors are, you know, what finishes are in it, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, so this is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath. You're looking at a CDD fee of $20.33. That's what gives you access to all the Nocatee amenities. It pays for the road systems and all the overall maintenance of and the events of the Nocatee Master Plan community. All right. Now, there is also an HOA fee, which is associated to just this neighborhood, which maintains the common areas of that neighborhood. That's $950. So let's just say $3,000 with CDD fees and an association fee. And okay, that's to live in the master plan community of Nocatee. That gives you access to all the amenities, the water parks, all the additional pools, everything else that Nocatee has to offer, all the events is $3,000 a year. Okay, that's like living in a country club minus the golf course for $3,000 a year. That's what, I don't know, I mean, less than $300 a month. So when people say that's expensive, I go, for what? Compared to what? Okay. So I think that's a pretty good deal. So where is the real expenses? Okay. So $3,000 in CDD fees and HOA fees annually. All right, the next thing you're going to look at is your property taxes, okay? St. Johns County property taxes have gotten more and more expensive. They're not cheap, but again, it's because we're growing at such a massive rate. We got to pay for all these roads and pay for all these schools. So here we go. You go to the St. Johns County property appraiser site and you can figure out exactly what your taxes are going to look like. So you have to put in the CDD community. It's the Talamano Community Development District, number 312, which is for Nocatee. The purchase price of the home, which is going to be $650,000. If you're married and this is your primary resident, you'll have a homestead exemption of up to $50,000. This also keeps in place where you can't have an increase of value more than 2 or 3% annually here in Florida with your homestead if it's your primary residence. You press compute and your taxes are around $76.47 a year. Okay, so CDD HOA fees need to be added on top of that. Now we're at $10,647 for this $650,000 house. Okay. All right, now you've got to add electric, gas, and water because it's a newer, oh no, let's add insurance really quick. So home insurance is the next big bill you're going to pay for annually. And again, you're not required to have flood insurance because Nocatee, most of it is in an X flood zone. You're not required to have it. I recommend it, but depending on the insurance carrier, I always recommend a national insurance carrier. State Farm's had really good rates for sure in this area. This is where we shine compared to the rest of Florida because we're still close to the beach. You can have home insurance here anywhere between $1,600, $1,700 up to $2,400, and that includes flood insurance. If you don't do flood insurance, more like $2,000. This is an average of costs, okay? So we talked about the property taxes, $7,600. You're talking about CDD HOA fees, about $3,000, so that's $10,647. Now you're going to add another $1,500, $2,000 a year for insurance, okay? We'll put that on the screen for you. And then finally, you have your electric, gas, and water bill. And again, for a home this size, 2,200 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, let's go on the high end and say $300 for gas, water, and electric per month in the heat of summer, even though we have a lot of cooler months here where your electric bill should be nowhere near that. I mean, I think I'd get away at a much bigger house at 3,000 square feet at $250 a month. But let's just go high. Let's say $250 a month for electric, gas, and water. And so there is your grand total right there on the screen. So these are the actual costs if you were to buy this home today. There you have it, folks. I finally made it to the end. I appreciate you sticking with me. My name is Greg DeTullio, and this is why Nocatee costs as much as it does to live here and the benefits of living here, the breakdown of the costs. I hope you found that very beneficial. It is not cheap to live in St. Johns County in the general, but I would have to say, coming from South Florida, coming from some of the areas that I'm seeing people move from, New Jersey, New York, with taxes and the cost of living in other areas, California, Washington, D.C., wherever it is folks are coming from, it is certainly not incredibly ridiculous to live the Florida lifestyle. The schools are good. The family life's fantastic. Whether you live in Nocatee or anywhere in St. Johns County, I think it's a great place to live. But more importantly, you have to decide if it's right for you. So I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a real estate professional. I don't monetize off YouTube. I choose not to. Otherwise, you'd have more commercials. So if you're thinking about moving to the area or you're thinking about selling and you live in the area and it's not for you and you want to move, I'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. I tell it how it is. I'm very straightforward and direct. I don't mince words, and I think that I could offer a lot of value. If you want to build a new construction home, or you're looking at an opportunity of new construction in Nocatee or the rest of St. Johns County, I have multiple builds going on in many communities, not just Nocatee, but all the way from Rivertown to Bartram to SilverLeaf. So all these communities, and certainly I can't be too opinionated on these videos, but if you call and we can have that conversation, whether it's 9 days, 90 days, or 180 days, we can start having that conversation of what will fit you, your needs, your family, your wants, and see what is the right area for you, if it makes sense financially. I certainly can go through all of that with you. You can call me, text me, or email me. My information will be in the description. It will also be pinned to the comments, and we can start that conversation. If you want to learn more about Nocatee, I have a 10-minute video going over Nocatee as well, and also a quick overview of St. Johns County. Those will be in the next screens, and I will see you there.